everyone, welcome back to another episode of Stats That Exist But Do Not Matter. It is brought to you by the DraftKings Sportsbook. You know, I feel like we've kind of put the 2020 year in the rearview mirror. It was a bad year for pretty much anybody. I assume you at home had a pretty rough year as well, staying cooped up inside. But a lot of us found a refuge in baseball when it was able to come back for a shortened 60-game season. Now, we kind of look back on that season with a little bit of an asterisk or, quotation marks or what have you, because, it wasn't very legitimate in the grand scheme of MLB seasons, but a lot of guys that year had great career years, whether it was their rookie season or their first real breakout season. So today we're going to look at those guys who had breakouts in 2020 and how they fared after, and also the guys who struggled in 2020 and how the script was flipped in the years that followed. One of the more obvious ones, especially to Yankee fans, is first baseman Luke Voit, who was the home run king in 2020, and he finished 9th in AL MVP voting. That year, he hit .277 with a .948 OPS, good for a .157 OPS plus, 57% better than the league average hitter in 2020. In the years that followed, though, he has not been the same power hitter. He's played in over 225 games since 2020 and has just a .101 OPS plus and just 33 home runs. He's never amassed 22 home runs in a season. He matched it in 2022, but hasn't beaten that 2020 total yet. And since 2020, he's played for 4 different teams in the Yankees, the Padres, the Nationals, the Brewers, and now on a minor league deal with the New York Mets. There's still a chance for him to turn things around, but as it stands, he's looking like a 2020 blip. Speaking of guys trying to turn it around, how about 2020 American League Rookie of the Year, outfielder Kyle Lewis, who's no longer even with the team he won Rookie of the Year for. In 2020, he had an .801 OPS, good for a .124 OPS plus. He had 11 homers and 28 RBIs, and had a walk rate of 14.1%, which was among the best in the American League. Remember how I kept saying it was a 60-game season in 2020? Well, Kyle Lewis has only played in 60 games since 2020. And in that time, he has an 86 OPS plus and just a .211 batting average, and his speed has really gone down due to several injuries. He played in 58 games in 2020 for reference, and one of his most notable highlights was hitting a home run in his Major League debut off the National League Cy Young winner Trevor Bauer. But a meniscus tear, a concussion, and multiple illnesses has really derailed his young career. He now plays for the Arizona Diamondbacks, a first-place team, so hopefully he can turn things around and help them out. Keeping things on the West Coast, we have the guy that finished 4th in National League Cy Young voting, higher than Max Fried and Corbin Burns, and that's Dinelson Lamet, who did so for the San Diego Padres in 2020. That year, he made 12 starts with a 2.09 ERA and was one of the best starting pitchers in the National League. He's bounced around since then and now pitches for the Colorado Rockies and has really had a tough time of it since 2020. He's thrown 105 innings with a 4-10 record and a 6.69 ERA since that year. He recently got DFA'd after an 8.28 ERA in 35 appearances this year. Again, it's a story of injuries with him as well. A biceps injury, a UCL sprain, and a forearm injury all since 2020. But how about a guy who was bad in 2020 and then turned things around greatly afterward? That would be starting pitcher Robbie Ray, who currently pitches for the Seattle Mariners, but back in 2020 played for 2 teams in the Blue Jays and the Arizona Diamondbacks. He had been a long-time snake before joining Toronto, but in 2020 he threw 51 2/3 innings with a 6.62 ERA. I'm pretty sure nobody was taking out side bets on him winning the American League Cy Young in 2021, the next year. By 2021, he achieved the most strikeouts through a starting pitcher's first 1,000 innings of their career with 1,244. He led the league in earned run average, innings pitched, strikeouts, and whip en route to his Cy Young victory in 2021. And then he signed a nice 5-year contract worth $115 million in the season that followed with the Seattle Mariners. He'll be out for this season and possibly part of next, but hopefully we see him back on the field soon. I guess he just plays better with fans in the crowd? Who knows? But for all the guys we talked about today, hopefully they can turn things around and not become just a footnote in recent baseball history. In fact, they might get encouraged if you place a bet on them, and you can do that at the DraftKings Sportsbook, the sponsor of today's episode. Right now, you can get in on the betting action if you head to DraftKings and use code STATS, S-T-A-T-S. You can bet $5 on any wager and win $150 in bonus bets. Use that money on some same-game parlays or explore the other offers that DraftKings has to offer for a shot at an even bigger payout and more fun betting on your favorite sports. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details, and any resources you might need for a gambling addiction or problem are listed down below as always. Thank you guys for watching today's episode of Stats That Exist But Do Not Matter. And while we all want to leave 2020 in the rearview mirror, hopefully our 2020 heroes can turn things around.